Morning, everyone. We're just going to wait for let a few more people in, and then we'll kick off the webinar. Thank you. Good morning. I'm going to kick off the webinar now. Welcome to Codec's comprehensive approach to prevent data exfiltration with Microsoft Purview. This morning, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of Codec. The Codec team that are going to be introducing you this morning is obviously myself. I'm an enterprise account manager in Codec, and Tushar Kumar, who is our security practice lead and also an MVP for Microsoft, who's going to be leading the session today. So just a little bit about Codec. We're in business now for 39 years, established in 1985. We're headquartered in Adelaide Road in Dublin, and our revenues finishing up in July of 2023 was 50 million. Our Azure business has been growing year on year by 58%, and we have a D365 Power Platform business also growing at 37% year on year. We've opened an office in the UK, and our revenue from the UK is contributing to 32% of our number. To date, we've 302 employees and still hiring, which is great for the business. We have advanced specializations. We've got 7 of them, and our practice has over 775 technical certifications. We have 3 Microsoft MVPs in the business, of which Tushar is 1, and we've 22 Microsoft Partner of the Year awards to date. And we've 200 plus active customers in Codec today. We're the largest independent Microsoft partner in Ireland, and we break our business into, I suppose, 4 different areas. We have our Microsoft Business Applications area of the business, which is where our Dynamics business sits, our Modern Workplace, our Power Platform, and our ERP. And then our Azure Cloud business is made up from our data and AI team, our cloud services, Tushar and his security team, our managed service team, and our application modernization team. And then we have our shared services, which is our quality assurance, our business analysts, and our PMO sit as shared services across both clouds. We also have our Microsoft, we have our own Codec labs, of which we're developing our own products. We've strong capabilities in the Microsoft ecosystem, and these are our current specializations that we have in place. So, and our plan for the end of, for our plan for this fiscal year is to close out on our AI and machine learning on Azure, which is due to be completed by the end of January. We've accomplished our low-code application development accreditation and specialization, so things are looking good for the next year. During today's session, if you have any questions when I pass over to Tushar, if you can put them into the Q&A questions there up on the banner, up on the ribbon, and we'll address them at the end of the session. And I'll also be putting a feedback form in there if you wouldn't mind filling it out at the end. Thank you. Tushar, over to you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Very good morning. My name is Tushar, and today's agenda is going to be, as we have on the screen. So we are going to look at first an introduction to the data security. We are going to look at a few implications of our very good friend AI has on security side. We are going to look at the Purview stack, that what all Purview has to offer. And as we have advertised specifically, we will be looking at Purview data loss prevention. That will follow with a few real world scenarios. So we will be looking at a few real world scenario that what can happen and what will be the mitigation for that based on the purview stack that we have. So without further ado, we'll get straight into it. There you go. So first thing is, we all know the data is totally evolving and access of data is going anywhere and everywhere. So from planes to your household, from a coffee shop, everywhere is generating some sort of data. And basically, what we are looking at is a huge amount of data going into your cloud applications, into going into your on-premises applications, and you need to make sure that you have everything contained and you need to make sure everything is secured, compliant, and all of the security measures are applied to those, right? So the traditional borders are no longer exist where you had one application sitting in your back office doing all the data entry jobs and getting into a same server within the same room, and you don't have to worry a lot about that. You are just sharing some manual reports or anything. But now the era is changing and the traditional borders no longer exist at the moment. So the proliferation of data is going, and by 2025, it is expected to be 175 zettabytes. And we are looking at IoT devices. We are looking at with multiple customers and different partners around sending data to the cloud, and that's coming from a IDC report. So it's basically expected to be 175 zettabyte by 2025. So first question that we ask is, why do you need a data security program? So basically, for a data security program, the main driving factors are you need to have basically a proper hygiene within your data. You need to make sure you have proper controls employed. You need to know what exactly is your data, which is confidential or which requires saving. So unless or until you don't know what is required to be saved, you can't save that. That's the thing, first thing. So you need to understand that first. You need to make sure not only just you as a owner of the company, you as a being and on a C level of the company understand that it should be cascaded to your end users and your employees as well. So user needs to know, user needs to understand how to handle the data properly as well. Admins also need to use, because you can't rely on users to do everything. So admins also need to understand what all tools are available, what all things that you can do in terms of making sure your technological stack is aligned with the current needs. You need to understand basically these all processes that we are talking about, right? This takes time. So you need to make sure you have a program where you are understanding your data. You are making sure your owners are defined. You know when to clean up your data. Is it coming from a regulatory requirement? Is it coming from your own organizational requirement? You need to understand that. You need to understand what is your life cycle for data. And the last thing will be around the new technologies that that you are introducing, and we are going to talk about a few in the coming slides. That what is the risk of that technology is going to be on your data. So if I move forward, we are going to talk about first thing is AI and data security. And trust me, there is no presentation at these days without AI, because that's going to be the new thing. So we need to look at the stats, what is happening at the moment. So if you look at the stats, 83% of companies, and that's a Forbes data we are talking about based on a survey. So which is they are basically making sure that the AI is the top priority in their business strategy. So with this, what happens is there is risks that comes into picture. So lack of controls to protect your data is first thing. So organizations are adopting day in, like every day these days, people are coming in saying, oh, we need such so AI, we need that copilot, we are using that Gemini, we are using that model from that, and it's all funny names that is coming in. that we will be using that model to do so and so things. But in terms of achieving the full potential of that, and in terms of making sure that your organization have a safeguard while you're adopting all those uh, AI models or AI tools, basically that's going to be the first thing. So you need to have a proper protection on your data shared. You need to make sure there is a proper governance. So you need to understand where exactly my data is sitting, what exactly is confidential. If you have a confidential who owns it, who has access to it, and the way the regulatory landscape is changing, we have EU AI guidelines as well. There is others as well in flight. So there is going to be a loads of pressure coming in by 2027 as this AI landscape evolves. So the top three data security concerns with the AI usage is data leak, data oversharing, and being a non-compliance. Okay, that these are what we are looking at from organization, it being an SMB or an enterprise perspective. This stays always on the top because we don't know where the data is shared. If you don't know that, and if you don't know who all are sitting in your organization might leak the data, it's a game over. The day you give them AI, it will be fairly easy for them to dig out any information that they are not supposed to. So earlier on, like if you are an attacker, you're getting into some environment, you need to dig deeper into documents, find the stats, or maybe find the invoices or whatever you're looking at. But now if your organization has some AI implemented, they can just get in and say, oh, tell me the top paying customer for this. And if it is a finance guy hijacked, it will just send out the details straight away to them. So we need to make sure all of that doesn't happen. So the hero for the day is Microsoft Purview. We are going to talk about Microsoft Purview. When we look at Microsoft Purview, right, and it has been there for a really long time now. So we have always categorized and Microsoft Purview in two categories. We're looking at three now because the number of products increased quite rapidly within Microsoft Purview suite. So that if I go with the initial categorizations, right? So it is just divided into two. When one is we are looking at the security part of Purview, where we are looking at all the security controls, and the second part is the data governance part of it, which is more goes hand in hand when we are looking at Fabric, when we are looking at Azure Data Factory, signups, analytics kind of stuff, and we do data lineage, we do data cataloging, and everything. Now, what Microsoft has done is brought all of them under single umbrella. So if you go to purview.microsoft.com, it will take you to one place where you see all of these listed. So we are going to talk about more of a data security part of this for today, and that starts with data loss prevention. We are not that much going to touch on the other parts like soft communication compliance and e-discovery that will be in the future webinar topics. But the data security bit where we are looking at basically safeguarding our data, right? That comes under the purview data security bits. And that is basically under us at M365, basically, and that's M365 license we are talking about. You can span that across multiple, I would say, sources. If it can be your endpoint devices, it can be your emails, it can be your teams and other stuff. Okay, looking at this, first thing is within data loss prevention, you can go for data loss prevention on your devices. You can look at specific to your employees, so your users. You can look at any of the events that is happening based on your policies. Okay, that all of that basically what it gives you is once you have the data loss prevention deployed for your devices and you have a policies implemented, you have one portal to go to where you will be managing everything. That's purview.microsoft.com. All the alerting will be coming in there, and as well as that will go to Defender XDR. Like if you are an XDR customer, uh, your employees will be having a seamless experience as it gets in integrated with all the Office applications and third parties, like the well-known third parties, pretty well. So anything and everything that you're doing at the moment, it will not impact that. And from your SOC perspective, or maybe from your managed services perspective, it will be a single point to collect all the logs and go in and do the triage around that. Okay. So basically that gives us a little bit of ease in the whole operations. The purview data loss prevention, basically, it is divided in four parts when we say. So first part is your M365 applications, right? So you have your cloud DLP, so your Exchange, your SharePoint, your Office 365 full suite, your Teams, everything is goes in one bucket, which is M365 Cloud DLP. You have endpoint DLP, which is your endpoint data loss prevention, going into your user's laptop, making sure that anything that they are doing on their laptop, and we'll see what all we can prevent, that's basically controlled by your organization, and they're following your organization policies while working with them. Also, for non-Microsoft apps, there is a list of apps, and we can talk about those apps that is available within the Purview remit, where you can actually integrate those and use the Purview around that as well. You have on-premises services as well. So if you have an on-premises file server, you can put in a scanner which will scan all the files and everything going into that and make sure that right labels are getting applied. And even if you're an auto labeling user, you will get that functionality to push the labels as well to the on-premises file shares. Okay. Uh, yeah. So the overall process of this is it's a pretty much fairly simple process, but it is a time-consuming process as well. So first thing is we start where we start with understanding of your data landscape. What exactly is your data? Based on that, you are going to use the information protection policies, which will be pushing the sensitivity labels to your documents, your files that is sitting in your environment. Based on that, what we are going to do is we're going to put in policies, the DLP policies, making sure that nothing happens. Like, let's say if it is marked as confidential, it shouldn't be going into wrong hands. Okay. That basically it takes us to the next level, which is the actual prevention mode, which is where we are looking at logs and sets and stuff which is coming in from our DLP tools, basically Purview, which is saying, okay, this guy tried to share some document, or maybe this document was shared and it has confidential data. Sorry. So basically working through that. And the last one is making sure that you have your data governed and you're not keeping any data which is like older than based on the GDPR requirements, older than 5 years. You should not have any data, or whatever your retention policy is based on that. So you're removing that and you're not keeping any sensitive data uh, further than that. The other feature that it comes with, right, and this is basically a really important feature for Purview, is the adaptive protection. So when we are talking about adaptive protection, right, what it does is it works on the risk level. And if you have seen conditional access at any point of time, right, it is kind of the same. So conditional access within Entra gives you three specific levels of risk for a user. Same thing is continuous evaluation of your DLP policy for the users, making sure if there is a minor risk, if it is considered as moderate risk, or if it is considered as elevated risk. So based on the risk level, or if there is any risk raised for any specific user, what it will do is it will take specific actions. So let's say if it is a moderate risk, you can do block from DLP. So don't allow the user to do certain actions, and give an option to the user to override that and put in justification. But when they do that, when they override that, put in justification that goes back to the portal. So you can see, okay, someone has overridden this block action and said so and so thing. If it is elevated risk, which we say high risk, it's basically block and let the user come back, and then you can investigate, okay, what is the issue? Why exactly is that user getting blocked? So adaptive protection basically gives you a little bit of edge, a little bit of ease in terms of risk-based controls, just so not every user is getting blocked from accessing because of your DLP policy kicked in there. Uh, t- t- uh, Okay, so we'll just go straight to the real world scenarios, right? So we're talking about three scenarios here, okay? And I have a couple of more. So first one, what we have here is, let's say a user creates a file, doesn't give it proper access, and basically reference it, and any user can reference it in Copilot. So if you have seen Copilot, you can just go in and say, okay, tell me about this XYZ project, and it will start giving you details around it. So that's basically going to be an overexposure of data, basically, and because of someone was negligent and put that file somewhere. Okay, someone maybe negligibly share something like, let's say, this meeting we are doing, this is a private confidential meeting we had, and we are going to decide that, okay, we are going to invest in some company for $100 million, something like that. And we did a Copilot extract, put it in somewhere, SharePoint online. That's shared for with multiple people, and we are looking at that data getting exposed as well. Also, there is another risk that organizations are seeing these days is people getting on Copilot and saying, okay, maybe a frustrated employee of Codec says, okay, tell me, write a newsletter for Codec, include all the Codec information, and make sure it is defaming and etc., basically. So that's a non-compliant usage. And that goes through basically if you don't have a proper it Copilot will definitely stop that because that's unethical AI we are talking about, but you will not get that. So user might do is they will take the company documents, maybe a customer project documents or something like that. They will upload it to Gemini or ChatGPT and then say the same thing, and you will get that. But if they do it on Copilot for starters, at least you will get a notification if you have a proper controls in place. So we will see all of these one by one. What can be the remediation of those, right? So the first case is when we're talking about the information protection bit is, yeah. So there is a meeting that happens between the research and development team and the internal teams, right? What happened is there is a very highly confidential things files shared on the chat. Okay, none of those documents was labeled. Okay, that goes that goes to all of the employees because they shared it in the same chat. So all of the employees have that, and the employees started sharing with the customers. Okay, there was nothing to stop that. Now, in the other scenario, when you are sharing those, if the document is labeled as highly confidential with restricted people or specific people within the DLP, what is going to happen is no one will be able to access that unless they have right privileges. Okay, unless they are part of, maybe if it is a highly confidential file and you have just shared it with just a group of people, they will only be able to see that, even though if you have dropped the link in the chat of 1,000 people. Okay, same thing will happen with the Copilot as well. So what we are saying is whatever is the highest, let's say, even though if you have access to five, like let's say in Codec, I have access to the highly confidential information. I am writing a white paper or I'm writing or a summary for sales guys to show them, okay, this is all the details we have. But still that data is going to be confidential data. In that case, what we are looking at here is Copilot will inherit the highest level or highest sensitivity. Uh, yeah, Copilot will inherit the highest sensitivity or reference on that. And basically, it will put in a tip on top of your Word file or whatever file that you are generating your PowerPoint, saying that, okay, your instruction contains sensitive files and you're referencing them. So it will be matched with the same level. So as you can see on the screen, we have a file which is unclassified, we have an email which is confidential, and we have a transcription from Teams which is restricted. So in that case, out of three, the restricted one is the most. So it will pick the most strict one and then apply it to the file generated by Copilot. Second scenario we are talking about, there's a new project member that joins after a merger, right? And basically, he goes in, he has a SharePoint online site, he goes in and uploads loads of mergers confidential information into that, right? Because to be fair on him, he doesn't know, and there is no labeling on that that says, okay, this is a confidential. Once Once your SharePoint site is tagged with a confidential or highly confidential or a moderate or not for whatever labels that you have within your organization, right? Once it is tagged with that, it will notify the user based on your setting or block them from uploading any confidential file into that SharePoint online site. So that basically gives you a data security win. The same thing happens is within the Copilot. So if there is a highly confidential file and it is basically called a containerization concept. Okay. So you can actually apply a container specific. So let's say general will have everything highly confidential. Okay. If there is it's opposite example, but if there is a general channel, there shouldn't be anything highly confidential. And this containerization will help us implementation of the Copilot as well, pretty well with the whole data security in place. The basic data loss prevention, and I believe this should be the top of that, and my bad on that. So with the basic of data loss preventions, if there is an external participants, internal participants, there is sensitive documents that was shared in chat and or maybe accidentally shared, if you have any controls on that, basically that will be total DLP. If the DLP is implied there, it will definitely block that from others accessing that or sharing it further to any other person. Okay. The scenario that I was talking about specific to Copilot, right? So the user want to discredit the organization and the user asks Copilot to generate a fake news or some inappropriate content about the organization. So basically, it can be two-way, it can go two ways. Copilot will disengage and the intent of the user will not be shown. Okay. Right. Or my user might trick Copilot, giving them into some details around it. As we all have seen in chat GPTs and all of those AI models that you can bend your words and you can get the answer that you are looking for. But if you have communication compliance policies enabled, it will either disengage or even though if there is something going in, like let's say if it talks about some confidential data within the prompt itself or expecting that, in that case, it will trigger a non-compliant message. Now the question arises is, we have loads and loads of, and I have been talking about copilots, all of that, because that's the only enterprise ready solution that we have at the moment. But we have third party and we have OpenAI solutions as well, right? So what if the employee goes in, input sensitive data into a third party generative AI tool, right? So what happens is they start doing that, they leak the sensitive information. So maybe if it is for a manufacturing company, they start putting their trade secrets into Copilot and into third-party applications and start asking questions about it. That that will train the model, and at some point of time, anyone asks that question, they will get the answer. So they end up banning all Gen AI tools, right? So if you ban, first thing is if you ban all the Gen AI tools, trust me, and we have been seeing this since the inception of ChatGPT. Even though if you block chatgpt.com, people will find a way. If they are not able to find a way, they will click photos of the screen and ask ChatGPT to do some sort of let's say OCR on that, and then give them the answer. Because to be fair on the employees, they need some sort of AI, and if someone else is able to do some stuff in 5 minutes and they need to do it in 20 minutes, they will be frustrated. So you need to give them something. But from the security standpoint, we need to understand how we should control this so employee doesn't go on third-party apps, puts some sensitive data and expects outcome of that, and it doesn't get leaked. Okay. We have a couple of options around that. I'll not say go use Copilot only, which will be like on a single or single tenant deployment kind of thing. But you can use certain controls. So first option from the Microsoft side is the DSPM, and this is basically whoever has worked in cloud security side, they know CSPM was there for a long time. So now we have DSPM, which is data security posture management. So Microsoft has had that, I think in June, July time, it was named as the AI Hub. But since AI Hub was bit confusing, so now we have DSPM, and we have data loss prevention that we saw just now. We have the enterprise copilots, and basically that will give us the whole control. Now, how these all works together, we will see that in the coming slides as well. So let's take an example of this project Obsidian, right? So we have a project Obsidian. What we are doing is we are starting to create the data loss prevention policy, which is basically going to be targeted on the user devices. What we are saying is anyone who is going in and taking Project Obsidian data, right? They shouldn't be able to paste that data anywhere outside. Okay. So we created some rules, we did some settings. I'll not go through the settings here. You can certainly go in different modes where you do the trainings. You check if the policy actually works in terms of audit or block and override option kind of thing. And then you have an option to restrict maybe copying to clipboard or maybe moving to remote device or any network share or something like that. So what happens here is, so this on the right hand side is the chat GPT. And on the left hand side, we have opened the Project Obsidian file. So if I try to copy that one and paste it to chat GPT, what will happen is I will get an notification that says your organization has blocked pasting protected content to unprotected locations. Okay, so you can sanction a chat GPT. You have two options. Either you can sanction your chat GPT and Gen AI and let people use some work around that. You can give them enterprise AI, maybe a copilot kind of thing, so they can use that. Or you can utilize some strict controls on DLP and then go for an enterprise OpenAI solution, maybe. Okay. Same thing happens. Okay, this is more of a communication compliance we are talking about. So that was more of an AI thing. But what if about the project Obsidian, and our guy Mark here is trying to share it with another coworker, and they try to share, okay, do you know anything about Project Obsidian and the new chip So you can see it on the screen. Uh, this guy has tried to share a message here, which says, "Do you know about Project Obsidian and the chip this?" And you got a message saying that, okay, your message was flagged because it contained sensitive data around Project Obsidian. Since the setting says, okay, you can override that and unflag that, you can say, oh, yeah, I have an approval from the manager. You can just override that and you can go with it. Same thing happens if you try to copy that and you have a proper controls in place. If you try to copy that same chip design for the Obsidian, it will give you a data loss prevention notice that says, no, you shouldn't be doing that. Okay. Uh, what if you just close everything and you try to put that in? For some reason, you are a marketing guy, your USBs are allowed. Usually the USBs, thumb drives are not allowed in the organization, right? You try to do that into this. In that case, again, it's going to be the same. So it will say your action is blocked because of the DLP, and you can't do that. And it will give you an option as well, just so you can report it and you can say, and all of these will be also popping in your Purview compliance portal as well, just to see, okay, there was XYZ attempt and they got blocked. What if I try to do that and take that Project Obsidian document and put that in Dropbox and download it on my phone, right? Again, you can sanction the places where you will allow upload. So if it is 15 places you want to allow people to upload, if your organization uses Google Drive or Dropbox or maybe OneDrive, so you can actually sanction others and just give them an approval that you can upload confidential data, because Project Obsidian was initially, when we configured here, it was marked as confidential. So if anything confidential we are talking about, it shouldn't be going in. But that is based on your organization policies, what is classified as confidential. And even though if there is no non-confidential data, if you don't want to share that across, you just want to mark something as externally shareable, that basically changes organization to organization, what sort of labels and what sort of controls that you will be you will put on place. But this is basically how it will react if once you have the policies in place. Okay. Okay. We're looking at the next one, okay, which is again a Copilot. Uh, which is again a generative AI, basically, and this is more from Copilot perspective as well. Okay, so and this is most asked question I had so far for any Copilot deployments for security, basically security requirements, I'll say. So and the first question people ask, okay, but tell me, if people will be able to see my salary or my CEO's salary once they do a Copilot. Okay, so employee might hunt for sensitive information, and trust me, I have also tried to check what's my CEO's earning. Okay, so it says no, I'm not telling you. So employees might do that, and basically Copilot will provide a response, and basically you will be again in the same scenario where you'll be saying, "Oh no, I will not be using the AI." So in terms of using that, basically Copilot provides you only the information around that, the things that is overshared. If it is not supposed to be shared with you, basically it will go to you. It will not come up in your responses. This is where the DSPM for AI, the data security posture management for AI, comes into picture. This basically gives you the view of all the sensitive data and prompts that is coming in. It will give you a weekly, I guess it's a weekly, or a monthly. I guess it's a weekly insight that you will be getting. Okay, what all things happened and what all things are in there. Your information protection policy and auto labeling of things basically will help you out in terms of making sure that everything is getting labeled properly. And even if it is not properly, because it cannot be 100% accurate with the auto labeling itself, but at least have some label applied, and you go in and you change that when there is a chaos, I'll say. But it's better to be safe than sorry. So information protection policies is applied auto label, and you have DLP policies basically in place, which is basically going to be inherited by Copilot in the responses. So no one is getting in, and no one is asking stupid questions, or maybe questions like which may violate your organizational security parameter. So you need to have a proper visibility on your Copilot prompts and what is coming in, and if there is any sensitive ask, or if there is any defamation ask coming in within your Copilot, and your any documents or anything that is going in which is confidential, and it is getting prompted in the Copilot prompts basically. So it is basically tagged with proper deal labels and DLP policies. Okay, so we talked about this guy a lot, which is our Purview DSPM for AI. And if you're able to see the screen on the right-hand side here, I'm trying to zoom into that. So I think it's a bit hazy here. We might go to the portal if time permits. If time permits. So data security posture management for AI basically is insight and analytics for your AI activity. Basically, it gives you one place, all your activities, what is happening, what all reports that you can get basically out of all the Copilot activities that is happening on, sorry. And also it gives you ready to use policies. So there is a list of policies that is pre-built there that you can either deploy it straight away, or you can tweak it based on your needs for a proper AI implementation that will make sure that your data security posture is basically aligned with the organizational need, and that goes in for your Copilot implementations and your AI implementations, what we are looking at. So as you can see, there is a ChatGPT Enterprise option here in preview as well. Okay, and yeah, so there are four. It's not, I'll not say Microsoft has done a really like a out of the pocket, really like the world thing here, coming up with the data security posture management for AI. It's basically just a combination of products that we were using from long time, right? So I'm not sure if you're able to read this or not, but I'll try again. So you have four required here, which it says one is activate your purview audit, second is your purview browser extension. What is browser extension? It's just to give purview ability to see what is happening on your users browser. So what generative AI applications you are going to, and based on that give you insights like what sort of interaction that is happening between that browser. So we have been doing this for endpoint DLP already in terms of controlling the access to different applications, but this will give you more of an insights now. You need to onboard your devices and for endpoint DLP, making sure that every device which you want to protect, or which will have access to that, they have the endpoint DLP onboarded, and you need to make sure that you have the data discovery on Purview. If you have all those four enabled, and basically if you go through the prompts, it will basically ask you, you have to go through all of that. You have to do that. When you have the data labeling in place, this one will work like a charm to give you all the details that you need for your AI implementations, and making sure there is everything covered within your organization. Okay. This is just a screenshot in terms of what you can get as part of this. So if you see on the very bottom of this, right, this is a very interesting insight that finding we get. So users performing top exfiltration activities involving sensitive assets. So if there are users trying to print or trying to download or send to external domains, or you will get a full report of that. Okay, there is XYZ users are sending data outside your organization. They're printing data. They are doing like based on your policy, whatever policy that you have, based on that, you will be getting all those details around that. There are multiple reports. Unfortunately, I was able to do the full report screenshots in here, but all of that you will be getting in place. And one of the other good things, and it is in preview at the moment, which is Copilot for Security getting uh, the capability of interacting with Purview totally. So now you can do a total interaction with the Copilot for Security for all the Purview stuff, basically making sure. So let's say you can see that this is the embedded experience of that. So if you ask for, okay, tell me the activity involved, these are the files, you can see these are the follow-up prompts that we have, and there is a specific prompt that, okay, these files, what all kind of labels we have had, and what kind of risks was generated around those files. Okay, so yeah, that was it from my side, and that was it from the DLP perspective, right? If you have any questions on this, just feel free to drop in the Q&A and we can take that. Sorry, and this is just a QR code for your feedback. So we have multiple different webinars planned, and we want your feedback. What topics will interest you, or if this topic interests you, or if you are looking for a specific Purview deployment, and if you're looking for any consultations around that, you can feel free to touch base with us.
Yeah, guys, thanks for joining, and apologies for the sound. It did go a bit glitchy there a while, but Tushar's been very kind. He's joining us from India today, so Wi-Fi has been a bit of a challenge, but hopefully the message got across for everybody. I've put the feedback form into the chat window if you guys wouldn't mind filling it out so we can help improve our webinar series. Thank you. No questions, Tushar.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one.
Merry Christmas.
Bye bye.
Bye.